for every heart that has ever loved two souls too deeply and known that choosing one means burying a piece of yourself with the other. Alas was not a cruel man. He was not a liar by nature, nor a thief of hearts. He was simply a man who had been given two different kinds of heaven and found himself terrified to let either go. At 32, Alas carried a quiet intensity, dark eyes that held too many thoughts, hands that were gentle yet always slightly restless, as if reaching for something he could not name. He had built a life, a home, and a sacred vow with Lena 5 years prior. Lena was his anchor. She was soft-spoken, steady, the kind of woman who made a house feel like a sanctuary simply by walking into it. Her hair was the color of warm wheat, her smile soft and familiar, her love patient and unshakable. She had held him through the death of his mother, through the collapse of his first business, through every storm that had threatened to break him. She was his past, his history, the quiet rhythm of his days. He loved her truly, deeply loved her with the devotion one has for the very ground they stand on. But then Myla had walked into his life. Myla was everything the quiet days were not. She was vivid, sharp-witted, burning with a kind of fire that seeped into his bones. She had dark curls that fell wild around her shoulders, eyes that looked right through his carefully built walls, and a laugh that felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She saw the parts of him he had long buried, the restlessness, the hunger for something more, the dreams he had abandoned to be steady and reliable. With Myla, he did not have to be strong. He did not have to be the provider or the rock. He could just be Alas. Their connection was electric, forbidden, and utterly inescapable. It was not a fling, it was a collision of souls, and so Alas had become a man living in two worlds. By day, he was the husband Lena deserved. By night, he was drawn to the passion and understanding Myla offered. He told himself he would end it. He told himself he would choose. But months turned into a year, and still he hesitated, paralyzed by the knowledge that whichever hand he let go of, he would drown in regret. The secret weighed on all three of them. Lena had sensed the shift long before she knew the reason: the distant looks, the excuses, the way his touch had grown gentle yet hollow, as if he were holding back half of himself. She said nothing, swallowing her fear and her pride, hoping the distance was only temporary, that the man she married would find his way back to her. Myla, too, carried a heavy burden. She hated being the shadow, the secret, the reason for another woman's pain. Yet every time she tried to walk away, Alas would find her, his voice broken, his eyes pleading, and she would crumble. She loved him not for what he had, but for who he was, and she convinced herself that if she waited long enough, he would find the courage to choose her openly. One rainy evening, as they sat huddled together in the quiet apartment he had kept hidden, Myla turned to him, her voice trembling with a question she had kept locked inside for months. Alas, if Lena and I both fell into deep water at the same time, and you could only reach one, who would you save first? The silence that followed was deafening. Alas stared at her, his heart hammering violently against his ribs. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He had no answer. He could not answer. The question settled in his chest like a cold stone, heavy and impossible to shift. "I don't know," he whispered finally, his voice raw. "God help me, Myla. I don't know." From that night on, the tension between them all thickened into something suffocating. Suspense coiled tight around their lives like a noose. Every phone call felt like a secret revealed. Every delayed return felt like a betrayal. Every glance felt like a choice being made without words. Intimacy became a battlefield. When Alas held Lena, he felt guilty for thinking of Myla. When he kissed Myla, he saw Lena's trusting face behind his closed eyes. He was tearing himself apart, and he knew he could not keep this up forever. Something had to break. It was Lena who finally forced the truth into the light. She had found a note, a small slip of paper with Myla's handwriting, tucked in the pocket of his coat. She did not scream or rage. She simply waited for him to come home. Her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed but steady. When he walked through the door, she held out the note, and the years of silence shattered. "I know who she is," Lena said, her voice quiet but trembling. "I know everything now." Alas crumbled. He confessed it all, the fear, the confusion, the way he had fallen so deeply he could not find his way back out. He told her he was sorry 1,000 times over, but he could not bring himself to say he no longer loved Myla. In the end, they agreed to meet, all three of them, at the old stone pier by the wide, rushing river. It was a place they had visited years before, a place that held memories of simpler times. They chose it because it felt like the right place to lay everything down, to finally speak the truth, face to face. The day of the meeting was dark and tempestuous. Heavy gray clouds blotted out the sun, and a relentless wind howled across the water, whipping the waves into a frenzy. The river was swollen with recent rains, its waters dark, churning, and dangerous. When they arrived, the air was thick with unspoken pain. Lena stood on one side, dignified and heartbroken. Myla stood on the other, her face pale, her hands clasped tight together. Alas stood between them, torn, his soul screaming in agony. "I didn't want any of this," Alas said, his voice carried away by the wind. "I never wanted to hurt either of you." "Then stop hurting us," Lena replied, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Choose, Alas. Please just choose." Myla looked at him then, her eyes glistening, and asked the question again, the one that had haunted them all. "Alas, if Lena and I fell into this water right now, who would you save first?" Before Alas could form a reply, before he could even draw breath to speak, there was a loud, sickening groan beneath their feet. The old timber of the pier, rotted by years of rain and river mist, had finally given out. With a terrifying crash, the section they stood on splintered and collapsed. There was no time to react, no time to think. In the same heartbeat, both Lena and Myla lost their footing and plunged into the raging, freezing water. "Lena, Myla." Alas's scream was torn from his throat, raw and broken. He rushed to the jagged edge of the broken pier, his mind reeling, his blood turning to ice. He saw them both bobbing in the violent current, struggling desperately against the pull. Lena was closer to the center, her head bobbing above the dark waves, her eyes wide with terror and disbelief, reaching out a trembling hand toward him, screaming his name. Myla was swept toward the stronger current, fighting to stay afloat, her gaze locking onto his, filled with love and panic, stretching out her arm as far as she could reach. The question that had been hypothetical for so long was now a nightmare made flesh. Save one, and the other might be swept away and lost forever. Hesitate, and he would lose them both. Time seemed to stretch thin, agonizingly slow. Every memory flashed before his eyes, Lena's smile on their wedding day, the way she held his hand when he was afraid, Myla's laugh, the way she looked at him like he was the only person in the world. Vows clashed with longing, loyalty clashed with desire, and his heart felt as though it were being ripped in two. Acting on a surge of desperate instinct, Alas did not pause. He dove headfirst into the icy, churning water, the cold shock stealing his breath instantly. He fought against the powerful current, his arms cutting through the dark waves, his eyes fixed on the two hands, reaching out for him, one on his left, one on his right. He reached out, his fingers stretching, his mind screaming that no matter which hand he closed around first, he would carry the weight of this moment for the rest of his life. By some terrible mercy, Alas managed to reach them both. He grabbed Lena's arm with one hand and Myla's with the other, fighting with every ounce of strength he possessed to pull them toward the muddy, slippery bank. It was a brutal, exhausting struggle, waves crashing over their heads, the current dragging at their legs. But finally, with the help of a passing fisherman who had heard their cries, all three were pulled to safety. They lay shivering on the wet grass, soaked through, gasping for air, wrapped in rough wool blankets. The storm raged on above them, thunder rolling like a warning. No one spoke for a long time. The only sounds were their ragged breathing and the roar of the river. When Alas finally found his voice, it was broken and stripped of every pretense. He looked from one woman to the other, tears mixing with the rain still dripping from his hair. "I cannot answer that question," he said, his voice trembling, "because there is no answer that does not destroy me. If I had reached Lena first, I would have drowned in guilt for leaving Myla. If I had reached Myla first, I would never have been able to look Lena in the eye again. Loving you both. It has been like holding two burning torches, waiting for the moment I am consumed by the flames." He turned to Lena, his heart breaking all over again. "You are my wife. You are the woman I promised to love and cherish for all my days. I failed you. I broke your trust, and I shattered the home we built. There is no excuse for what I have done." Then he turned to Myla, his gaze soft with pain. "You are the fire I thought I had lost. You saw parts of me I hid from everyone else. But I was wrong to hold on to you while I was still bound to her. I was selfish, and I hurt you too." The impossible truth finally settled over them all. There was no way to win. There was no ending where no one got hurt. The only kindness left was to stop trying to have everything and start doing what was right. Alas realized then that his love for Myla, while real and intense, had also been a refuge from the quiet work of fixing what was broken between him and Lena. And his love for Lena, while deep and rooted, had been taken for granted and neglected. He could not give himself fully to either of them while his heart was divided. With a strength he did not know he possessed, Alas looked at Myla. "I care for you more than I can say," he told her gently, tears streaming down his face. "But I cannot build a future with you on the ruins of the life I promised to another. It would not be fair to you, and it would not be fair to her. You deserve to be someone's only choice, not the secret one, not the second one, but the one they proudly claim in front of the whole world. And I cannot be that man for you while I am still Lena's husband." Myla nodded slowly, her face streaked with tears, understanding in her eyes even as her heart shattered. "I know," she whispered. "I knew deep down, but I wanted to believe." She stood up, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "Take care of her, Alas, and take care of yourself." With one last lingering look, she turned and walked away into the rain, disappearing from their lives. Then Alas turned to Lena, falling to his knees before her. "I have so much to make up for," he said. "I know I may never fully earn your trust again, but I am here. I choose you, I choose us, and I will spend every day proving that to you, if you will let me." Lena looked at him, her eyes filled with a pain that would take a long time to fade, but also with a flicker of the love that had never truly died. "It will be hard, Alas," she said softly. "Nothing will ever be exactly the same again." "I know," he replied, "but I am willing to try." Months turned into years. The road was long and scarred with pain. There were days of silence, days of tears, days when the memory of what happened threatened to tear them apart all over again. But Alas stayed. He was patient, honest, and fully present. He learned to love Lena not as an obligation, but as a precious gift he had almost lost forever. Their love was no longer the easy, careless romance of their youth. It was deeper, weathered, and far more precious, forged in the fire of betrayal and the slow, painful work of forgiveness. Myla built a new life far away. She found peace eventually, though the memory of Alas remained etched in her heart, a reminder of a love that was real, but not meant to last. And Alas, he never forgot the question, or the moment he stood between two people he loved more than life itself. He learned that love is not about having everything you want, but about protecting the hearts entrusted to you. He learned that the hardest choice is not always about who you love more, but about who you are willing to fight for, honestly and fully. Sometimes when the wind blows hard and the river rises, he thinks of that day. He thinks of the two hands reaching out for him, and he knows that no matter how painful the path was, he made the only choice that gave any of them a chance to heal. The end